This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen. Content presented on the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent views of the Whole Care Network. Always consult your physician for medical and fitness advice, and always consult your attorney for legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Have you ever met anybody that has caregiving on their bucket list of things to do in life?
Beyond caregiving, how do we care?
We also have to care for ourselves.
How do we treat friends, family, strangers we meet?
Forget it.
How do we heal? The physical, social, financial, spiritual.
Hello.
By creating healing ties. Tying it all together like a bow tie. With your host, Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy.
Well, greetings, everyone. It is Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy, for another episode of Healing Ties featured on the Whole Care Network. On the Whole Care Network, we are all about story sharing and resources because we believe it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause. And our common cause is supporting caregivers before, during, and after caregiving ends. And as you know, we're celebrating National Family Caregivers Month with the reboot of the popular Healing Ties podcast. Well, I think it's popular, but some people have told me that too. And to celebrate National Family Caregivers Month with the soft launch of our new Whole Care Network website going on at the same time, we've got a variety of things happening. So I invite you to go and visit our new website at thewholecarenetwork.com. Well, actually, you've got to go to the old site to get to the new site. But once you get to the new site, you'll be introduced to Bo. And I know as soon as you see Bo, you're going to get it because Bo ties things together on the Whole Care Network. And during our soft launch, we're asking our listeners to provide us with feedback on our new site so we can continue to build our new site in a way that makes it easy for you to search the content that you're looking for. Oh, and by the way, you'll be able to search content on the new Whole Care Network website via our 4 pillars of care. That's our physical, social, financial, and spiritual care. And be on the lookout for our new YouTube channel featuring our live shows, our streaming 24/7 radio station, and a few other exciting things happening on the Whole Care Network in 2021. Well, enough from me. Let's get to our guest. My guest on this episode of Healing Ties is Kate Fassbender from the Dementia Letters Project. As the creator of the Dementia Letters Project and the granddaughter of someone who's lived with vascular dementia, Kate has played a range of roles and walks with those on their dementia journey, magnifying the importance of creating the human connection. Digging into her ArtBin, and I can't wait to get into that on the show today. As a classical trained musician, studio artist, theater maker, and using her academic foundation in the creative arts therapies, Kate serves others on the pillars of education, life enrichment, and support. And Kate, welcome to Healing Ties. It's great to visit with you today.
Yeah, great to visit with you. Thank you for having me.
What an awesome background you have.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Now, I've had the opportunity to read a little bit, and I know you you've been on one of our other podcasts on the Whole Care Network, but tell our listeners about you and your background from your words.
Yeah. So my journey, I say, started long before I even knew what careers were even in aging and dementia, and long before I even really knew what dementia was. I was sitting in a sixth grade science class, and we started talking about memory and the brain. And someone in my class said, "Oh, we call that old-timers disease," when referring to Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And while the class erupted in laughter, it didn't sit well with me. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to dedicate part of my life to serving those living with dementia in whatever way that would look like. In my sixth grade mind, that was very much, I'm going to do this as my campus ministry project, and I'm going to do it as volunteer work. And it kind of evolved as I learned about the creative art therapies, as I learned about the different professions within aging. I saw that it could also become a professional path for me, but I knew it wasn't going to be in the form of a doctor or a social worker, because I didn't really have an interest in those paths. And so I continued to learn about dementia and learn about the different ways that you can support those living with dementia. And then my grandmother was diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2005.
Oh.
And it became a pivotal moment for me, because I realized what the caregiver journey looked like.
Very good.
From the granddaughter's eyes. I could see what my parents are going through, the doctor's appointments she had, all these things. But it also changed how I was ultimately going to work in dementia. I saw how the creativity and music and using the arts and all these things tapped into that emotional memory of my grandmother. And it became a new way for us to connect in ways that my cousins and some of my aunts and uncles were even hitting that brick wall time and time again. Yet I was able to get through because we laid the foundation of music first. We would listen to music while we would decorate her Christmas tree, or while we were setting the dinner table, that sort of thing. So I had that experience. And then I ultimately chose to get my undergraduate degree in art therapy. And that was really what propelled me forward into wanting to live a creative life in the dementia realm, and helping all those living with dementia and their care partners also live a very creative life, because I saw this power that, since then, more and more research has come out to support what I was witnessing firsthand during that journey.
Oh, goodness. This just kind of gives me chills. And I'm going to share a quick story, if you don't mind, because I'm not a artistic person myself, even though I want to be. But when this is a number of years ago, when I was involved in clinical pastoral education at a hospice here in Florida, we had the opportunity to visit with a family, and the woman she had been responding for a couple of days, and the chaplain ordered music therapy, and I just remember it was like it was yesterday. The lady came in with her guitar, and she played contemporary songs that the patient would recognize. After about 15, 20 minutes, she opened her eyes, and she was able to talk a little bit, not a whole lot, to her family. But they were able to have their goodbyes. And she passed the day or the next day. She never regained consciousness, but it was from that experience of that music therapy. It's like, that was, for me, was what was the greatest experience I ever had in hospice. And then talking to you about that, when you mentioned that, I just knew that you would want to hear that part.
Yeah.
Because it speaks to exactly what the importance of what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think, especially with the creative arts therapies and arts in general, we hit these blocks where we think, oh, creativity is creating a work of art, but it's also approaching a puzzle from a different angle. It's accepting the invitation to viewing a world in a way that we currently don't see it. And using, the creative arts therapies and the arts, we are allowed to go to deeper levels than just surface joy. Now, that we should never underestimate or diminish joy at all. It's a very important part of all of our lives. But we can do some deep work. The creative arts therapist can go in through the arts and address maybe undiagnosed PTSD from World War II.
Oh my.
They can address health issues that maybe not were addressed because societal norms did not support addressing those issues. You can use creativity to find new ways to connect with people whom, they may no longer be able to have a conversation like you and I are having a conversation right now.
Right.
And it's something that has always, it's become an anchor in many ways for my work, and also helping other people discover ways to use that creativity, to use the arts, to use the creative arts therapies, to do some foundational shifts in how we support our loved ones and those with dementia in our world today.
So even though I was kind of kidding myself, we all do have some creativity inside of us. It's just a matter of tapping into it. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I realized over the last maybe 3 years is creativity has made a lot of pathways to how we program for those living with dementia and in our care communities and receiving in-home care. But we can also use creativity to change the care partner journey as well. And so some of the work that I've been shifting and building over the last few years is how can we use creative engagement to change the way we train both family and professional care partners. So they're not always hitting that wall. Right. So that they're understanding, oh, this is how I could approach it so I can still connect with my loved one. Oh, for example, teaching some improv skills to our CNAs, to our nurses, to our families, and supporting them in that way so that if their loved one suddenly thinks they're on a beach in Florida, well, gosh, you're going to join them on that beach in Florida. And you're not disrupting your reality. You're not disrupting their reality. What you're doing is you're meeting in the middle. And you're able to connect in that way. And through that connection, you may be able to still deliver medication, get them showered, get them to a doctor's appointment by entering into that creative play space with them.
You mentioned improv, and we're both familiar with the great work of Kathy and Tammy. And improv, it really does work, that concept of yes. Yes, but it really kind of diffuses a lot of emotional situations.
Yeah, it does. And it also helps prevent some of that burnout that we see when, we're in this month where we're really kind of focusing on our care partners, November dedicating to helping them be it educationally or just encouraging friends to reach out to those who are care partners. And I think that one of the things that we haven't fully explored is how can we use this? How can we use the arts and our creativity so that we aren't burning out? So staff turnover isn't as happening as often. People who are family care partners can still feel and live fully alive, connecting with their friends, connecting with their community because they're not burnt out, because tasks aren't taking 20 minutes because you're fighting getting that sweater on to go to the doctor's office.
Right.
All these things. And in the care setting, for some administrations that might be fighting it, well, staff turnover, decreasing that also decreases your cost because you're not hiring as many people. And so it's a win-win for the administration, for the families, for the care partners.
When you could put a dollar amount to decision makers and show them, demonstrate what it's going to save them, then they usually take a little bit more notice. Oh, goodness. Can you talk a little bit about, I know in our notes and our previous conversation, this 3-dimensional life to helping care partners. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for me?
Yeah. So I actually started that last year, kind of thinking about this idea of the care partner. And it came from years of meeting care partners who looked just down and depressed as they left a care community because they still were caring for their loved one, even though they had professional care 24 hours a day.
Oh, yes.
And seeing family members all of a sudden in this panic mode because they had lost they lost a loved one that they were caring for. And now they also realize that because of that care partner journey, they had lost their friends. They may have lost their home, the life they knew, and suddenly they don't know their place because they were living only the care partner journey. And then last year, my grandma who fell, my mom ended up being a full-time care partner for her. And so I started seeing in a new way from the adult lens instead of the the teenage lens, that
yeah.
care partner relationship. And so I created the three-dimensional care partner project to kind of help shift how we view the role of being a care partner. It is a very important role. It still may take up most of our time, but we can live fully alive within that. And it starts with simple steps, with saying, okay, I have all this to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I really need 3 of me to care for my loved one today. But you know what? I'm going to enjoy the first view out of my window when I open my blinds. And I'm going to enjoy that. And I'm going to see the awe and beauty in that sunrise, or the gloriousness of that first sip of tea or coffee in the morning, and taking those steps to help them realize what they love about in their life, who they are, and ways to carry that with them while they are still helping their loved one get to the doctor, helping their loved one move from the dining room chair to the living room chair, doing all these things and kind of in increasing steps. So starting really small and then moving on to how can you maybe start a pen pal relationship with a friend that you don't have time to see them, but you still need to connect, or a phone call.
You do, yes.
Yeah. How can you find maybe 15 minutes on a Tuesday afternoon, every Tuesday, to have a conversation with a friend, a loved one? Maybe it's even finding a church that supports your loved one with dementia, joining you so that you can have that parish community, that faith community with you. Or how can you find a half hour once a month to meet with a spiritual director, or someone who is kind of a sounding board for you? And so it's all about that experience and building that community as well.
Now you're tapping back into my seminary experience. So I'm enjoying the entire conversation, but it's getting me back to some far gone days that I don't often think about, but are really still a part of my life. And I think what I'm hearing here is you're building a community that features dignity, hope, and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the first things that I noticed. I didn't see it so much with my grandmother because she had an amazing care team. Her doctor was incredible. My parents were always treated her as a person that she was and could continue to be for them. But when I started working with others, I noticed how dignity was stripped away as the clinical world entered more and more into their lives, whether they had dementia or just needed more physical care. And I knew that I personally have always believed that everyone deserves to live with the dignity that they were born with. And,
very much so.
From birth to death, live with that full dignity and a fullness of life. And it kind of became something that I talk about more after working with an individual on an assisted living floor, who he had one of the smaller rooms, because if you had a larger room, you could have a garden view, or if you had more money for this, you could have, it was very class-like almost on this floor. And he was saying, well, I'm not wealthy. And I said, but look at all the friends who come in to see you day after day. You are wealthy in friendship. Look at the smiles that you receive and how much people talk about the joy that you bring into their lives. You are wealthy in joy. And so I really started, through the work that I do and through conversations and the language that I use, try to really pull out those things, being wealthy in creativity and connection and joy and dignity, because sometimes they can get, tossed aside as we go to that clinical and medical.
Exactly. We get so clinical that we forget that there's this completely other side that can be just as comforting and confirming, that I think, I'll just go ahead and say some people in the medical field just need a little training on.
Yeah. Because their roles are, that clinical work is necessary, but we need to maybe send them an invitation to open up to new ways of being. Okay.
I've got another, you just triggered another memory about hospice. Can I share this with you too?
Yeah.
But we were in the review class, and this big burly doctor came in. I mean, he was probably, I remember this like it was yesterday. He was 6'6". He probably weighed about 300 pounds. He And he came in with this really deep voice, and he sat there and told the class, he said, I had lived my entire life in curative medicine, and his parent got sick, and he had to deal with the personal as it related to palliative care. He did know nothing about palliative care. And it was through the experience of dealing with his parent, I forget if it was a mother or father, he saw the benefits of palliative care and switched from a curative to palliative. And he said it completely changed his life, and how he realized that he used to think he could cure everybody. Mm-hmm. And now I think that I got to think about how he said this. He says, I know I can't cure everybody, but I know I can help heal an entire family. Yeah. And I mean, it's just kind of like, it just stuck with me over these years. And okay, I'll admit it. It's almost 20 years ago, but it reminds us about how powerful our stories are and our experiences are, and why they're important to share these things with us. And look what you've done for me today. You just you just brought me back some really wonderful memories, because the work you're doing, that really wasn't around 20 years ago when this is a kind of a new field, and it's a much, much needed field to help take the pressure off the healthcare workers and bring some joy and comfort to families. Yeah. I don't even think it was really a thing when I graduated from college. It only maybe in the last 5 years did I start seeing people kind of go, oh, this is something that we need to add some weight to this, because it's powerful. I think you knew this in 6th grade. I'm just trying to go back. Probably. I think you did. Great. Well, Kate, this is a good time for us to take our break. And like I'm doing with all of our 30 and 30 guests, we're going to want to know a fun fact about you that I don't know, and our listeners are going to be real interested in hearing. How does that sound? Sounds good. Put your thinking cap on. So you're listening to Healing Ties on the Whole Care Network. We will be right back.
Tomorrow on Healing Ties 2.0.
When I look back and think about the things that I really could have used in the beginning, they weren't on my radar at all. Boundaries, mindfulness, compassion, self-compassion, and then forgiveness. And they just all work together. Hi, I'm Teresa Wilbanks, family caregiver and owner of Sustainable Caregiving. And I am talking with Christopher McClellan today about strategies for sustainable caregiving. So please tune in to the episode to hear about how to make your caregiving experience more sustainable.
Join us tomorrow and every day in November for 30 shows in 30 days. Healing Ties 2.0. Available at thewholecarenetwork.com/Healing Ties and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I am continuing my wonderful conversation with Kate Fassbender from the Dementia Letters Project. And Kate, before the break, I warned you, I'm going to put you on the spot. We want to know one fun fact about Kate Fassbender that everybody wants to know.
Okay. Well, the only thing I can ever really come up with is I'm ambidextrous in everything but golf.
Ambidextrous?
Yeah. So okay. I can play tennis with both hands. I can cut a knife, write with both hands. But for some reason, golf, I can only golf left-handed.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to enter. Can you bowl with both hands?
I haven't tried that. So maybe this is a true statement.
When I come for a visit, we'll go bowling, because that's about the only sport I could do without my body breaking down. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So when you're playing tennis, you can switch hands with the racket and then hit the ball from the.
Yeah, I can in informal settings. It's against the rules in a formal match. But so when I was on the tennis team in high school, I couldn't do that. But
rules
just for playing, I can switch up.
rules are made to be broken. So
yeah.
And they won't notice because you'll do it very fast. So.
Yeah.
That's a great talent to have too. This is just a delightful visit, and I hope we can do more of these with you, Kate. Would love you to be a part of the Whole Care Network, and
that'd be great. Yeah.
But we just got a couple of minutes left. Could you let all our listeners know how they can reach out to you, find you on the internet? Just please provide all your contact information.
Yeah, so the best way to find me is either through my website, which is the dementialettersproject.com. And I'm at Dementia Letters across all social media. So either on social media or on my website, you can find my phone number, my email address, contact me forms, as well as a full scope of work that I do.
And Kate, with the stories you share and the work that you do, you are certainly someone who's creating healing ties all around us. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to visit with me today.
It's been a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, goodness gracious, St. Ignatius, what a great visit. And that, unfortunately, that does it for this episode of Healing Ties. I could go on for the next hour with Kate, but as you know, I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. You know me as the Bowtie Guy. I've created a life to love after caregiving ends by sharing stories, resources, and being with awesome people like Kate Fassbender. Healing Ties is produced in the posh studios of Odd Box Production in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, overlooking the Arch, and is part of the Whole Care Network. Check out the soft launch of our new Whole Care Network website and be sure to meet Bo. You're going to love Bo because he ties all things together on the Whole Care Network. And be sure to subscribe to Healing Ties wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We'll see you for another episode of Healing Ties, tomorrow, as we continue our 30 and 30 podcast to celebrate National Family Caregivers Month. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye for now.
Ciao.
This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen.